It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a weekly podcast where we talk about everything that's great. Like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, this show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
And my name is Mike.
And this week, the DCU casts their Clayface actor. I was trying to do clay and casting and molding, and it didn't really work out, Mike. So we're just gonna have to go with the regular.
It's one of those like jokes that has to be read because if you say it out loud, it's like, well, cast, okay. This how you make it. I'll make a web comic. Don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that because I really needed that win on that one. Marvel adds another 2028 release date to their calendar. We're going to talk about possibly what that is when we get there. Duke Nukem is here to create a new series and chew bubblegum, and he's all out of bubblegum. And more.
Oh, man. I'm so glad Duke Nukem is at the top of the show. This is just like a piece of media I just haven't talked about at length really ever, but I have not a ton of experience with, but enough experience with that it's a rabbit hole that I'm looking forward to diving down with you.
My brother-in-law and I've known him since like first, second grade. It's like one of his favorite games that we always played growing up. And every time I see a copy in the wild on like PlayStation 1 or like, Nintendo 64 or whatever, I'm like, do you have this one? Do you want it? Because I end up like just buying it for him. It's like birthday gifts or Christmas gifts.
It's like one of those. It's like one of those games that's like at risk of being like lost to the sands of time because a lot of people will compare it to Doom. It kind of ran off of the same.
It looks the same.
I don't know if it was literally. I don't know if Doom has persisted with like other like revamped versions of the game. It had like a movie and everything. It's out there in the zeitgeist. I see the cover of Doom. Yeah. Even like the art gets memed. I feel like Duke Nukem needs a resurgence.
Well, Doom is also it's a company that makes other video games. So like obviously they're making money to keep making games, right? And stories and stuff like that. Duke Nukem was created by Apogee Software, which was only for 2 years. And it wasn't bought until a company until 2K until 2011. So it's one of those things. But it's also, we'll talk about it. I mean, honestly, let's just jump into it because we don't have much to talk about. So Duke Nukem is a video game that's essentially a parody of other shooter games of the time. The machismo esque, like, I'm a badass chewing, smoke a cigar, kick an alien ass kind of thing. It's first person shooters, third person shooters, and it's kind of, I would even say, Mike, and it's looking back a little misogynistic, if you will. One of the games is Duke Nukem Land of the Babes, and it says 1 man, 1 mission, 1 million babes is on the cover of that game. But the whole point of this is, this game has been around, shooter game, parodying another one since 91. And the last game actually came out in 2011, Duke Nukem Forever, on like the 360 PS3 era. But producer Adi Shankar, who is most recently on Netflix on Castlevania and the Devil May Cry series, has purchased the rights from Gearbox, the TV series media rights, not the video game rights, to make a show. He hasn't said it's on Netflix or not, but this has brought Duke Nukem back to the forefront, like you said, of people's minds, because we haven't had a video game in 14 years. With the last week,
this feels right up like Amazon Prime's alley, right? It seems like they're trying to carve out this little niche of maybe video game related media. But I've always thought there was a bit of a charm to Duke Nukem. Yeah. I don't know if it's just because the first time I played it, I was like literally like an elementary school boy. And it was just like, oh, if you go into this bathroom, you can walk up to the urinal and he'll take a piss. Whoa, this is crazy. Oh, don't look in that. Don't look behind that warehouse. Yeah, don't look behind. Like, don't go into this janitor's closet, or you'll see like this pinup model poster that they put on the wall. This is crazy. but I don't really remember which Duke Nukem game it was because I can't recall the title off the top of my head.
It was
All I can say was it starts off and you're on the roof of like a skyscraper or like a building or something in some sort of like city. And I just remember playing like those first two levels like over and over and over and over again in my childhood to the point where like you learn where all of the secrets are, just like Doom. You walk up to like just like a random looking
well,
portion of a
it
wall and it like
yeah.
flies up and there's like a rocket launcher behind it.
So I know you're talking about Duke Nukem 3D. I'll tell you that right now. I know exactly the level you're talking about because it's in Hollywood, and you're on top of the buildings. But Duke Nukem 3D was also literally on every system known to man at the time. If you go look it up, it was like literally on every video game console from PlayStation 1 to the N64, Sega, the not the Dreamcast, the other ones. But like the cover of that is the Doom cover with Duke Nukem on it. Like that's why it's one that stands out. So obviously popularizing first person shooters, very raunchy, very violent, kind of thing. But at the same time, it is fun to play. It's fun to revisit that stuff. It's like a snapshot of that era, kind of thing. You're like, what is it? The movie They Live. Are you familiar with that one where it's got Roddy Piper puts on the glasses and he sees the aliens under kind of everything. So it's very much like that, kind of like that kind of. I like it. I think this was fun. Adi Shankar has also done those. He calls it the bootleg universe. He did like a Power Rangers movie that was like R-rated. He did the Venom thing, the Punisher Dirty Laundry short. Like he's done all these things. Like it's like content made for fans by a fan, is what it feels like, right? And when you're doing something like Duke Nukem, you can't. His quote is exactly this. It's a middle finger to everybody. When Duke Nukem blew up, a bunch of people sat around trying to turn it into a brand when it's just a middle finger. Like, you can't overthink Duke Nukem. Like, you can't make it a franchise. You just have to say, this is what he is and this is what he does. And you have to, like, suspend that disbelief and kind of roll with it, right?
Yeah, I remember. I don't know, Chris. Maybe you have a better You obviously have a better catalog memory than I do because you're able to pull out that Duke Nukem 3D title out of nowhere. There was another Duke Nukem title that I played when he transitioned from first person view to third person, and I think it might have been on. It must have been on one of my PlayStations growing up. And you would like go from like level to level, or I guess world to world. And I distinctly remember one level where like Duke Nukem is like dressed up as like a cowboy, and I'm like running around shooting people with like 6 shooters. It's a wild universe, and it's a good quote there of it's like a middle finger. It's kind of like a parody. He's like parodying other video game stuff.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Time to Kill, because you mentioned cowboy, like Time to Kill. Like I think it goes through different times that like eras.
Oh, you're probably right.
So I think that was the next one was Time to Kill, which was like a PlayStation one. There were some Game Boy games, if you will, Duke Nukem. There were even the mobile games. Remember the games that used to just be on phones, like little JavaScript games. And it was like Duke Nukem. What's it? Mobile. Was it like not Land of the Bikini Project? I think it was. Like they've really just like they skewer a lot of stuff and they are fun to play. But it's like you're just shooting aliens. It is Doom. It's Wolfenstein. And then the one you mentioned is kind of like, if I remember correctly, kind of like a Tomb Raider kind of gameplay as well. Like
yeah, a little bit. I just looked it up and you nailed the title. You're exactly right.
Okay. Yeah, because the titles kind of give away with what it was, right? I recently, probably a month or two ago, played Duke Nukem Forever for the 360. I was building an emulator for my brother-in-law yet again, and we were testing the 360 emulation. And the first game I pulled up was like, yeah, let's do Duke Nukem Forever because this game is just kind of silly and fun. So this is something like Shankar's had a lot of. Is it Adi Shankar? I'm probably butchering his name. The more I say it out loud, I'm like, I don't think it is it. Is it Shankar? Shankar. God damn, Mike, I butchered it. Shankar. I think Google's fixed it. Adi Shankar. I think he's had a lot of luck with Netflix. I think this might go to Netflix. But like, I think it's going to be an animated project wholeheartedly. I think he's going to continue his Castlevania, Devil May Cry work and continue in animation rather than live action. But I think a live action one would be pretty fun, like a kind of like a Dread or something, right? Something silly like that. That's what I would love to see. But I don't think we're gonna get. I don't think we're gonna get a live action Duke Nukem on any streaming service right now, right? So, but overall, yeah, if you guys have any history or memories of playing old Duke games, let us know. I'd love to reminisce with you guys about that. Other properties we grew up with, Mike, that I had very limited access to. Highlander is in our news this week. Russell Crowe will be joining the upcoming reboot film as Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, originally played by Sean Connery in the original. A Spaniard, when obviously Sean Connery was not a Spanish man at all. But also a swordsman who trains the titular Highlander. I believe it's Connor McLeod. Or there was two of them because the TV show had a different character. But for people who don't know, Henry Cavill is the Highlander in this upcoming movie. And I don't know if you're familiar with Highlander at all, Mike, but it originates the line that everybody knows. Do you remember the line for Highlander?
There can only be one, which is such an iconic line, because it stands the test of me never seeing it. I've never seen Highlander. The only thing I know about it is there can only be one. But then also I've watched the movie The One, which was really cool. I know it has nothing. To do with Highlander, but it kind of makes me think of it. They're kind of similar premises, right? Yeah. But also this just goes down the rabbit hole of like, what is Henry Cavill's next project supposed to be? Like, I feel like he's had 1,000 of them out there in the water and none of them have come to shore yet. I mean, I believe you when you say that this is like in production and everything. And
I think
I'm sure a camera maybe has been turned on at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's going into filming this fall, late summer, early fall, because I don't think they would announce Russell Crowe if they weren't like ready to announce other people to this. Russell Crowe and Henry Cavill, both famously Man of Steel, right? Russell Crowe played Jor-El, Henry Cavill as his son. And we all know Henry Cavill's working on his like Warhammer 40K project for Amazon as well. But I think this is the first announcement of many, and we're going to start getting more and more people announced for this as they kind of kick off the production. Because you're right, what has he been doing lately? Kind of thing. I was talking to my friend Brian. He's watching Mission Impossible movies to get ready for the new one that just came out a couple weeks ago, and he got to Fallout, where we got Henry Cavill with the mustache, the infamous mustache that carried over to Justice League, and also what I'm calling when he's shirt cocking it, right? Like he's doing his sleeve things. Yeah,
we got to get Cavill back on the big screen regularly, only because I need the Snyderverse people to just knock it off.
Man,
it's in crazy. I know we don't really report on these people because they're crazy and they shrink. I think every week, like one person like wakes up and goes like, I can't dedicate my life to this movie director anymore. So the minority is louder than ever. But I saw that they were trying to like organize like a boycott around this new Superman movie, and like it's so stupid.
One person made a post on Reddit, and it kind of got a little traction. Like even the Snyderverse Reddit people were deleting like, actually, this is really not cool at all, kind of thing. And then to the point where like James Gunn was like, yeah, we're not worried about those guys at all. when James Gunn and Zack Snyder were even together like a couple months ago, remember when they did that photo together? And like it's so weird to have like such an obsession for like, I want to ruin the DCU because obviously if the DCU fails, they have to bring back the Snyderverse.
And I know it's been beaten to a dead horse, but Zack Snyder got what is essentially a golden parachute out of the DCU. He went to Netflix, got a blank check, and was given the opportunity to try to kickstart 2 fresh, brand new universes. I'm sure with not many studio notes, because I don't know how he would have arrived where he did with studio notes. It seems pure Snyder, and it didn't work. This man he would not have brought you a satisfying DCU. Whatever. I don't know.
Right. Either way, getting Henry Cavill back, I don't think I don't think he's a bad actor in some of these roles. I think seeing him as Highlander obviously would be interesting. For those who aren't familiar with Highlanders, Mike said there can be only one. Essentially, there's this thing. It's called I don't remember. It's not the quickening is what happens. Highlanders can only be killed. They're immortal and can only be killed by decapitation. When you decapitate another Highlander, you gain their knowledge, strength, and experience, all this other stuff. And there's like a big burst of energy. And at the end of it, when there's only one immortal left, they get like some either like a wish or like some exponential power. There's been so many Highlander movies and TV shows, and they've retconned and changed everything so many times. It's interesting that they're coming back to it, but I think it's time for like some of these B movie things to come back up here. So I'm interested to kind of see where this goes, but like, probably to Mike's point, I'm interested that two high profile actors. I don't have a dog in this fight for Highlander, so I'm excited to see kind of what they do with it going forward. Henry Cavill's got experience with the sword. He was doing, what was that? The Witcher show.
Witcher,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's got experience with the swords there. So we'll see what he does with that. Continuing our journey into the DCU, we're going to talk about Clayface. Actor Rhys Harries will play the title role in this upcoming movie, which I've heard has been rated R. I couldn't confirm this, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be rated R because it's like a horror film. I don't know who Rhys Harries is other than the photos I've seen online.
I think there was I don't know him off the top of my head, but I think Gunn was like quoted saying that they went through a lot of casting options. So it seems like they're at least being picky, which is good. That's not a bad thing to hear. It seems like a lot of these types of projects kind of get greenlit because a big star gets attached, Oh, we got the big name, so we can really push this forward now. It seems like, oh, no, we got the big creative behind it, which was, what was it? The guy from
Mike
like
Flanagan.
Haunting of Hill House. Yeah.
Mike Flanagan.
All that stuff. So they're like, we got our kind of like our gem or cherry at the top of the sundae. So now we just look for the best kind of like creative choices. Okay. So I like that idea.
Yeah. I kind of go through the stuff. I've heard of some of the movies, but I couldn't tell you like, I didn't watch The Gentleman, from like 2019, wasn't that like Guy Ritchie film? He was in that. The Return last year, Kandahar a couple years ago. So I don't know, but he obviously probably doing pretty good. They also confirmed that he will play the Matt Hagen version of the villain, which is the second person, I think, to be Clayface in the comic books. He was an adventurer who turned into a monster after coming into contact with a radioactive pool of protoplasm. So if they are going to do this, it sounds like they're going to go with like the sci-fi route, if you will, right? Rather than someone who, just has powers out the gate or is using, like a mask.
Yeah, I wonder if this is basically an acknowledgement of the Clayface that we saw in Creature Commandos. This is going to be a sequel to that kind of Clayface in a way. Maybe this, I don't know exactly how the clay works on this, because you think of Clayface, and also I'm kind of thinking of like, Groot from the MCU can be like kind of torn down to nothing, but then regrow. But like, is Clayface, since it's more of like a goo, is it kind of like a symbiote in a way of like, a piece of it can break off and maybe kind of riding their way around Creature Commandos.
So I'm going to hear Matt Hagen has temporary shape-shifting, voice mimicry, and a malleable clay-like body, which allows him to manipulate his physical features at will. He must re-immerse himself in a pool of protoplasm that gave him his powers to recharge them every 48 hours, or he would regress back to his human form. Later, he duplicated the protoplasm by scientific means, but only for 5 hours before needing to be renewed. So this sounds like the movie. What's that movie that just came out last year? The horror or the beauty film with the
substance or substance.
Yeah. It sounds like that a little bit, if I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, you could only do this for like, you get a little bit of time, and then you go back to the protoplasm. Either way, so obviously they don't have to stick to this. This is just the comic book version. The original Clayface, Basil Carlo, had no superpowers but wore a clay mask. So yeah, that's kind of the interesting. But there are like 4 or 5 Clayfaces, 6 I think maybe. That could be it. So to me, it's fine as long as it fits in the DCU and is a good movie. Yeah. I don't care.
I feel like one of the bigger pullouts from this news that I remember last week was when Gunn announced the casting. He thought it necessary to say like Matt Reeves also really liked it. Like he didn't say it needed to be like approved by Matt Reeves. He was just like, "Oh yeah, we all love it. Me, Matt Reeves, we love this casting." It's just like, "Well, why are you bringing up
Hmm.
Matt Reeves? Like, are you trying to like gain some creative like credibility to like, oh, Matt Reeves, he's a great creative, a great director, has cast many great people. He really likes this Clayface." That maybe could be the answer. It's the most simple, straightforward one. Or do you go conspiratorial of like, Gunn brought up Reeves? This is Clayface is supposed to be in that universe. Maybe this is the direction that they're going. They're gonna have a Splinter universe with a different Batman. I don't know.
Well,
Time will tell.
that brings us to the last point. The one I added today was that James Gunn did confirm that we will not meet the DCU Batman in Clayface. We will not see him until his own movie. So it could still be standalone. This is again one of the few films added to the roster. So this and Supergirl, right? The next two films were not in the original Gods and Monsters lineup yet, and the next movie as well. But it's interesting that if Matt Reeves is involved, maybe he's just leaning on it because he's so busy and right. We've talked about this. James Gunn he literally can't do everything as a studio head, right? Like he has to let some of the people go or do it. We have I think we have a director for this movie, right? Is that what we said before? But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. This is exciting because we've never had a Clayface movie. This is a very unique. We talk about characters who need to be brought to the forefront. I think this is an interesting character to bring to the forefront. Does it feel a little venomy for the DCU? A little bit. But with a good creative behind it, Mike Flanagan. They're obviously casting good people. They've got a plan for this. It might probably be better than Venom at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that. Also, James Gunn, he's out there. They're doing the Superman track. I think they showed the first 30 minutes in like Manila this week as well to an audience. So he's out there doing interviews. This is stuff not on social media, interestingly enough. He did say that Sergeant Rock movie is moving forward, but that it will have to change creatively to meet his needs. So maybe the first Sergeant Rock that we thought was announced a couple months ago is way different than the one we're going to get. But I also, I probably wouldn't have, if I was him, I wouldn't have said anything, but that's fine.
This is him announcing that he sent an email. He sent notes on the script of like, hey, this needs to change. Yeah. Some writer is getting paid more money for revisions, so good for them. I did see some of those clips,
and himself. Did he say, "Hey, can you work on the script"?
Yeah, he has a writer email and like a head of Warner Brothers email that he sends it to. I saw him out there on the circuit on a stage, and he was telling a story where once news broke that he got this job at head of DC, literally he said the first text he got on his phone was from Jason Momoa, and he just said "Lobo baby" in like all caps, which I just thought was hilarious. That's like exactly kind of like Jason Momoa's energy of just keep me going, let's get this going.
He probably had that saved. Like he already had that text ready to send months ago and just forgot to hit send on it.
He's like,
I need to text James, and it's like, oh, this was already here. I'll just send it right now.
Lobo, yeah, he sends that to everyone in his contacts. He's just trying to what's it called where you wish things into the world? It has like a name to it, like
he's trying to will
not
it
manifest. Manifestation. He's trying to manifest
it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I want to look at his thread between him and Vin Diesel for the Fast and Furious movies. How many times he brings up Lobo in it?
Speaking of like threads, it just made me think, we've all heard of like the kind of famous Avengers group chat where all of these actors have a group chat together and they're all talking with each other, probably sharing memes and stuff. The shattered like DCU group chat has got to be the saddest group chat ever. Like nobody ever replies in it. It's just sad.
I saw it was an older clip. They were talking about that time Gal Gadot tried to do the sing the words to the Imagine thing with all the other celebrities during like the pandemic and how cringy that was. And I watched it, I'm like, oh, this hurts. This is a memory I don't need to have 5 years later to remember this. But I was like, she's got to be in that thread. Maybe you think she tried to get the people in the thread to start singing with her as well from that?
She was like, everyone's gonna go see Snow White, right? You're gonna take your friends and family, right?
Yeah. I just think there's probably not been any action in that thread for a long time. They forcibly removed Ezra Miller pretty early on. They just you says it was left the chat, that kind of thing. But either way, long story short, Sergeant Rock is moving. We'll probably get more updates, later in the year. Maybe they'll do a DC State of the Union after Superman, right? When that dust settles, kind of say, hey, here's our game plan. Here's what we're going to be working towards. Update. Hopefully that's in the cards later this year. Maybe after Superman, maybe before Peacemaker season 2 would be awesome. Over in the Fantastic Four world, the popcorn bucket threads have been going everywhere. By the way, I just want to say I've seen so many popcorn vessels, all the theater things. Like I need to keep tabs with Fantastic Four stuff because there's so much of it. But moving on to this, Kevin Feige said that work on a sequel to Fantastic Four is already in development. Now, it doesn't mean it's greenlit, but this kind of goes in opposite direction we've seen the past 5 years, where we don't know if any of our movies are getting sequels from the past 5 years, but that they're already working towards the Fantastic Four second steps as a bad name for it. That they're getting ready, they're getting the people in places, they're going to have this ready to rock and roll sooner than 5-6 years away.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't cast Pedro Pascal and just like leave him out on a vine to rot. I know he's going to be in Doomsday, which we're going to talk about kind of some casting there a little bit later. More than just the video that we saw a couple weeks back. And, I'm sure he'll be in Secret Wars as well. Mm-hmm. So you got 3 movies on him, but I got to imagine he probably signed at least like a 5-picture deal. Yeah. And Reed Richards is an extremely important character in the MCU because he can do so much legwork when it comes to like explaining story, universes, moving things where they need to go, literal like planets, pocket dimensions, whatever you need to do.
We don't have Tony to do that. He's a good replacement for Tony's scientific elements that they brought to the first, several phases of Marvel.
Yeah, and Bruce is smart, but who knows where, Bruce and Thor are going to end up. They're these kind of like legacy characters at this point that, they're probably going to be pivoted away from in the future.
Mark Ruffalo will show up. You bring it. You say it's catered lunch. He's gonna be there. Okay, so
you know what? I honestly think you're right. I think that he could persist for a while. Yeah. He probably has like a weird special carved out contract or something. Yeah. But yeah, Reed is very important. So we always talk about this theoretical reset that they're going to do in the MCU. He's the type of character that survives through that, remembers it, and tries to adapt with his whole family. So yep, not surprised.
Yeah, and I think I don't have this in here, but the next 3 pillars of Marvel, there's the cosmic portion of it, the X-Men portion of it, and I forget what the third one was, but they feed into the cosmic portion quite a bit as well, right? So that's great. Also, Kevin Feige said this past week that the events of Fantastic Four will lead directly into Doomsday. So that's great. We'll have a standalone Spider-Man movie, which we'll talk about later. But that's good to know that the end of that movie will kick off our next big event, right? Several movies long worth of events for that. So no surprise there, but good to know that that's what we're looking forward to. Lastly, there's a Little Caesars ad. It's in Spanish that I've seen talking about like this 4-way pizza. So you can get a pizza cut like how you get half and half. Well, imagine you get 4 quadrants of pizza now at Little Caesars. You can pick what 4 quadrants you want. Great, Fantastic Four pizza. And then with that, you can kind of see the Little Caesars guy with the box being picked up by the Mole Man's giant creature, Giganto. I don't know if this is in the movie or not, Mike. This could just be something they put in for this trailer. He doesn't look like a movie quality villain in this render.
Yeah, I've seen similar opinions out there. And also, I guess people have been struggling to find this spot in high definition.
Yeah.
I saw somebody going nuts because they could only find like low res versions of it, which makes sense because it's an ad and those like usually get trafficked through like other CDNs and stuff like that. And it's not like Little Caesars is uploading it in like HD on their YouTube channel,
Yeah.
But if I had to guess, if they are revealing a visually iconic character, which exists on, classic Fantastic Four comics.
Number 1, yeah.
I don't think that they're wasting. I don't think they're spoiling a reveal. This
Yeah.
strikes me as a character we see in like the opening of the movie,
Yeah.
you know, where we see the team rally together and fight, and they
Yeah.
put this monster away in like 5 minutes, you know.
And also, if you look in the background, like, is this supposed to be like they literally have created little Caesar standees behind the creature, right? Little displays. And then if you look at the does that look like the Denny's logo to you? The other three signs, like
Is Denny's owned by yeah, it does kind of look. Is
Be-
Denny's owned by Little Caesars, or this is the
well,
same corporation?
they could have the same because Denny's is doing like they always do those cross promotion meals, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Fantastic Four meal at Denny's going on during Fantastic Four. Hell, we probably even covered it already, but there's so many cross promotions. And the fact that this is only in Spanish is interesting. So, as we get closer to the movie, we're about a month away, coming up on a month away soon. We'll probably see if this is real or not later. But to me, even if it is, it's not a spoiler because we know who the villain is. Giganto's not going to fight Galactus at the end of this and save the day. He might just be a blip in the cosmos. But it also, like you said, it doesn't look real. This is like something you go to Fiverr for and say, hey, can you mock me up this 3D model real fast? But maybe it's the compressed version, like you said, rather than anything else. But that's fun. I'm excited for Fantastic Four. The more I see, the more I kind of get hyped for it. So, we got that coming up to wrap up. We go from Fantastic Four into San Diego Comic-Con, Mike. Even though Marvel and DC won't be there proper, it'll still be a good time for everybody. Also this week, there's like a nighttime announcement, I guess, or maybe just over here on the West Coast. Marvel Studios has added a fourth movie to their 2028 release schedule, December 15th, 2028. They also have 3 other movies that year still, February 18th, May 5th, and November 11th. I've theorized a couple films in here, Mike. February 18th could be Blade, and we'll talk about that in a second. May 5th could be Thor 5, because we've heard so much about Thor moving, like a 5th Thor being in production, right? And then November 11th could be the Fantastic Four 2 we just talked about, which makes me think that December 15th could, in theory, be Avengers Secret Wars Part 2.
Well, so 2027 is still Secret Wars' release year, right? In December.
December, yep.
So this would be exactly a year after that. I mean, I don't need a part 2 to Secret Wars because Secret Wars is already the part 2, right? Yep. They announced Doomsday and Secret Wars in tandem.
Yep.
It would be kind of like I think it would be an odd pivot unless there's just so much amazing story that they've deemed between the Russos and Feige that can't be told in 2 movies. But this
could be Battle World movies.
Kind of. Yeah, it just kind of feels more like a cash grab to me of like, split the movie, make more money.
I don't think so. I don't think it is because no one said it's Avengers. Like the fact is December is interesting, but they've kept 3 others. This goes antithetical to literally 2027 or 2026, right? Where they have one Marvel movie. I'm not counting Spider-Man that's owned by Sony. This is technically a Marvel movie, so it's not Spider-Man. I think one of these other ones is. I don't think they're going to do a November and a December. I think November will get nixed. What do you think? I don't think they're going to do a month away.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of have to look at this from a strategic point of view, and I might just be beating this to death, and maybe it's not true. But if I believe there's an MCU reset on the way, and I mainly believe that because they do it in the comic books all the time. That is how you kind of start back, so you can sell issue number 1s again, and you can just bring back in the fan base and start from scratch. Hire new creatives, which probably is what the MCU needs to do here. So that means the February 8th movie or February 18th movie would be the first movie after Secret Wars. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yes, that would be.
Okay, so if there is no Secret Wars Part 2, and we think in 2027 of December, that's when the reset happens, it seems like that first movie after Secret Wars needs to be very strategic, right? We need to this is kind of like our, hey, we're restarting this thing. Everybody come see what happened after all this crazy stuff happened in Secret Wars. And I don't know, is Blade the way to do it?
I do. I think Blade is so tonally different from every other Marvel movie. It's supernatural. It is in the mythos of the mythical and the underworld that we've not had at all in MCU. Because again, you've talked about this until we're blue in the face. Iron Man 1 set the tone for the MCU, right? We have to follow what Iron Man 1 did. It's all science. It's all nanotechnology at this point. You have to explain things. If they're going to reboot it, Blade necessarily doesn't have to be one that's saying, hey, this is it, come see it. But Blade can set the tone. There's new problems in the world that we did not have 6 months ago.
Yes. I am begging for that story to happen. I love that after, Infinity War, this blip happened. It like severely affected a lot of the storylines going on. But then I feel like after Endgame wrapped up, there's been some like political maneuvering and negotiating like throughout the world, but it hasn't been as impactful as I kind of hoped it would have been.
No way.
So I would love some sort of.
Was it Far From Home just hand waved it? They were like, yeah, everybody came back, and now.
Like, oh, it's a joke. Now my younger brother is like the same age as me. Yeah. Oh, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to be like, oh, Blade is now a very necessary character in this world because this cataclysmic event that has happened across the universe with all of our heroes, like monsters are maybe now starting to come out. Maybe these heavens and hells are starting to leak. I don't know. There's a lot of fun creative things that you can do.
Yeah.
But okay, I could lean into that for Blade. Maybe the MCU starts to be like, okay, everyone knows this as the jokey superhero universe, and Superman is looking to be this really bright and hopeful thing. Maybe now we go dark. Yeah. Maybe now we lean into what Snyder was doing and we get all biblical with everything.
And they could, save their big, I guess, reveal or reboot for the summer tentpole, right? Whether it's Thor 5, maybe to make it comfortable, but not too. Like, you don't want to have 3 new characters in a year, right? Because, like, you be like, who are these people? Why do we care? If you bring in Thor as May 5th, I also put, it could be X-Men. X-Men would be a fan-fucking-tastic choice for a May movie. Mm-hmm. But, like, Thor's like, hey, we're sitting off, this is our Thor movie. We're going to right the wrongs of the last Thor film. He's going to go out with a bang, but like at the same time, we don't know what he's facing in this new world kind of thing would be interesting. I don't know. And then obviously, I don't think November is going to hold. I think, Mike, I'm going to tell you right now, I think November 11th will be canceled for Marvel.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the antithesis of the strategy, like 4 Marvel movies a year, and also that puts 2 in one quarter.
If it was July, I'd agree, but like that's not gonna be moved to July. That'll be nixed fairly early on.
I agree.
Yeah, but that puts maybe for December Fantastic Four 2 for a Christmas movie.
Maybe I think what we need to do strategically on this show here is just before we go out and see Secret Wars, and the whole veil has been lifted, and we kind of maybe have an idea of where the direction is going. I think we need to, between me and you, we just make a bunch of predictions and we just see how they play out, over the next year or two and see how correct we are.
Well, I think we need to do this before Comic-Con 2027 or 2026 because they can't surprise us with these movies anymore, right? They can't be like, oh, we made a Blade movie and nobody knew about it. So I think we need to do it before Comic-Con and then maybe do a revamp right before Secret Wars. Mm-hmm. Because I think that'll help cover our bases from, we'll know what the February movie is when we're going into Secret Wars. So I'd love to do that. Maybe we get together and just get a big dry. I'll buy a dry erase board for us, Mike, and we'll just go to town and snapshot that at the end of the day. So it'll be fun. But anyway, 4th movie. I think this will be changed. Sooner than later. But obviously. Movie studios have to lock down release dates. That way you don't get 8 movies on the same date. So by planting a flag in the soil, Disney and Marvel have said we're gonna take back December, and it will be Marvel movies or Avatar movies, kind of going forward, if you will. But I brought up Blade because Blade has some news this week that several reports, like Variety, has said that the movie is back on track. Blade is back on track and is moving again for a rumored 2028 release date. We've talked about this again before, that Blade would not fit in the current movie lineup, right? This is something that needs to happen post Avengers films, set it up into a new universe, or even if it's not like we just need to get all the other stuff done. And Blade doesn't fit the mold of necessity watches before Secret Wars, right?
Well, just for fun, what side of the debate do you want to take? Mahershala Ali sticks around or doesn't? Do you think he's actually going to be Blade or not going to be Blade? I'll take the opposite, and then we'll fight it out over the next couple of years.
Well, I don't think he will. I don't think he'll make it. I think it's
that's what I was gonna say. So now, no, I'm true to my word. I'll fight the other way. Mahershala Ali is sticking around. Want to know why? Because he wants the money. I think it'd be a nice chunk of change.
Yeah, I think so as well. Also, I don't think he's got negative feedback with this, but he will be. He's 51 years old this year, Mike.
Whoa.
Yeah,
looking good for 51. Damn.
Yeah. Obviously, all the actors, but like, he's 51, and by the time this comes out, he'll be 54, if you will, and so will he want to be making Blade movies at 54? I don't know. That's why I say no. I think they might just get somebody else. Now, they don't need somebody technically necessarily super young, but I don't think he'll be one to be making Blade movies kind of by that point. So because we have that, we also talked about Midnight Suns last week, right? Coming up, so he'll be a part of that. So whoever is Blade will be there. It's just this is going to go down as like one of the, what do they call it, casualties of Marvel announcing ahead of time. Remember when Inhumans were one of those movies as well? Blade is a casualty, so on and so forth. So we'll see where that goes. Big news this week, out of nowhere, out of left field, THR, the Hollywood Reporter, has said Jon Bernthal will come back as the Punisher in Spider-Man Brand New Day, Mike. Did not have this on my bingo card.
Yeah, this is out of nowhere. Yeah, I think this next Spider-Man movie, I could not guess what this movie is going to be about. Like, I could maybe theorize maybe where the story should go after we left off the character, but this movie is like coming out like right in between these like gigantic Avengers movies where there could be.
It's before now.
Like, oh yeah, it's before. So like now that doesn't help. It does not help me figure out what the movie's about. I mean, putting the Punisher in there makes it feel maybe more grounded to me, right? Because you can't put an ungodly threat in front of Punisher. He has guns. I mean, he's good at guns, but Spider-Man can superhero punch something to oblivion. But I like the addition. If you watched season 2 of Daredevil, you just got to see how I feel like he's more jaded. I didn't think the Punisher could get more jaded than he was. But he's crazy in Daredevil season 2. Like he's not season Daredevil Born Again season 1. Yeah. He's crazy. He's like extra jaded, and he gets to be. He's almost, I feel like, more portrayed as like more violent. It's like they wanted to make sure that Disney Plus knew that he was there in all of his blood and glory.
And he has the special presentation that Jon Bernthal's also writing coming up.
Yeah,
that will bridge the gap here.
That's true, and I think like he makes it out of like I don't know, the things that I didn't like about Daredevil Born Again was how the last episode wrapped up and like the post-credit scenes, which kind of involve a little bit of the Punisher. So maybe they can kind of clear him out of that messy story and have like a fun special presentation. But when I think about Spider-Man and Punisher, I always think about the iconic comic book cover where the Punisher has Spider-Man in his sights, like in his crosshairs, and he's like hunting him down. Yeah. So it makes me wonder, like, I obviously I could see the characters teaming up at some point in time within the movie, but if they're adversarial at the top, I think that could be fun and exciting. But I'm curious, what is Frank Castle's motivation for going reasoning in there?
So couple things. Number one, Punisher season 1 ends with the anti-vigilante task force, right? Kind of showing up.
Daredevil Born Again season
Oh, yeah,
1
sorry,
ends
yes.
with you said we can't keep track of any
Yeah.
of this stuff.
the latest thing with the Punisher had the anti-vigilante
Yes.
task force, which we have seen is taking place in Daredevil season 2. Do you
Mm.
now the Punisher was a vigilante. He wouldn't be hunting another vigilante Spider-Man for no reason. Do you think I don't think the Punisher, Frank Castle, would work for the Kingpin on the anti-vigilante. I don't think he would for 1 second be on this task force. Because they're appropriating his symbol and all this other fun stuff that they kind of do there.
Well, kind of like the whole point is like the Punisher doesn't really have any points of leverage. You know, his whole family's dead, right? You know,
Yeah.
so you can't put the pressure against him. He's just a renegade out there in the world. So Spider-Man would somehow have to run up against his kind of like internal code.
Mm-hmm.
So he's either going to get false information about Spider-Man, you know, misinformation and
Or
believe it.
Stop him from
Or
killing
maybe-
somebody, like prevent.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably the most believable. I don't think Peter Parker wants a crazy man running around with guns in his city.
Yeah. So there's that. A couple months ago, we talked about the Hulk, Mark Ruffalo. They got catering. He's going to show up to Spider-Man. But like that, he would be against Spider-Man as a savage Hulk in the city. So we'd heard several months ago that Spider-Man and Punisher will team up against Savage Hulk. I didn't put any weight into this rumor, Mike, because why would Spider-Man and Punisher team up to take on the Hulk? Well, now I'm starting to rethink that entire perspective, that maybe this is the case. Why is the Hulk, why is the Hulk in New York? I don't know, but boy, I'd love to see Spider-Man in New York for the first time ever.
Yeah. Like, are we thinking the Hulk, our Bruce Banner goes savage, or if this sort of battle world-esque scenario is starting to transpire, or at least start in this movie before Doomsday happens, is this going to be a different Hulk that maybe slips through and lands into their New York?
I don't think so, because they probably want this to stand on its own when watching a new Spider-Man trilogy. And by starting it in the middle or leaning into the next Avengers movies, I think you kind of lose that standaloneness a bit.
It could be a possibility. I think I like the idea, if there is a Savage Hulk, of we kind of get to bring the Hulk back to its roots of just being like a nightmare. Like so many iconic comic book stories revolve around like the Hulk just being like a walking nightmare. He will literally eat you.
Yeah, well, and also the Incredible Hulk, he drops himself into Harlem to take on Abomination. Remember? So they both, he's got history of tearing up New York, and they even reference it later. Not that he's going to show up there to tear it up again, but I want to see Hulk, Smart Hulk, Professor Hulk's fine. They've not really done a lot with him. He was good in Endgame, but boy, do we need like you mentioned, the unpredictable Hulk. How do you take down the Hulk? Guess what can't hurt Hulk, Mike? Bullets. And guess who would be able to unload all the guns he wants onto the Hulk in a movie and not kill him? The Punisher.
Yeah, you got a point. Yeah.
But regardless of any of these things, this is cool. This is some news that perked my ears up. I was like, damn, they're actually bringing TV characters to the movies and doing it in a way that's like, not, hey, we had Charlie Cox catch a brick in No Way Home. This is the Punisher and Spider-Man are together in a film.
It makes me think of that episode of South Park where you get to see a manatee writing an episode of Family Guy. It's like they put all of their characters and different variations of them in like a bag and they threw them out on a table, and it's just like, oh, that's actually doable, and it could be cool. Let's do that.
Yeah, and also John Bernthal, of all the TV actors they had, if we look at it, he is the only one who I think could carry movies today. He was in The Accountant too with Ben Affleck, right? Like, so he is a movie star, not just a TV star. I feel the other people in the Daredevil universe are just TV actors. And this kind of works. Nothing that they can't change to movies. Some have done movies. Charlie Cox was in Stardust, obviously. But like, if you look at their current line of work, I absolutely believe John Bernthal could pull off a movie and work on a movie set and do it really well. So this is awesome. I love this. Mike, thank you for not putting the Punisher looking through a scope at Spider-Man in our featured image, because everybody else did, and I was going to be disappointed if you had.
I did that a couple years ago, and it makes me wonder what the news was. We must have reported on the idea of this crossover happening
Well, I think
already.
it was
Uh,
Spider-Man coming to Daredevil TV show. I think that's what it was.
oh yeah, yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So, but anyway, brand new day. We'll probably hopefully get some more news this year because filming will have to kick off later this summer. Avengers Doomsday has some quote unquote leaks from the Marvel Legends toy line. Toys have to be made way in advance, right, Mike? To get production made, boxed up, shipped across over here. So Avengers Doomsday, we already know who the main actors are. We know what they look like. At least in some first iteration suits. So the Marvel's toy lines, the Marvel's Legends toy line for Doomsday has made its way on the list, and there are no surprises here. But I think these are going to be some very cool figures when we get them. First and foremost, Doctor Doom, Thor, Mr. Fantastic with Herbie, Invisible Woman, Human Torch, The Thing, Cyclops, Gambit, Captain America, and Shang-Chi. I didn't expect Gambit to get his own toy. Cyclops was not on my list to get his own toy, but this sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm happy to see Shang-Chi up there. I mean, yeah, you do bring up a good point. This could be hinting at main characters. Of course, they're gonna try to tailor the toys to like maybe what they expect to be selling the most as well. But this is a crazy lineup. Can you imagine if somebody told you like 5 years ago that this was going to be a lineup of an Avengers movie? You'd be like, what?
Yeah. If I walked out of Endgame and they handed me this list and said, "Here's the next Avengers movie toys you're going to be buying," I'd have said, "You're a liar. You're a liar, and I don't like you right now." I looked at it, and now I'm like, yeah, actually, I can see this. Shang-Chi has been gone for so long, Mike. We need him back. I think he's going to be a breath of fresh air in this. It'll be great. And for people who this is Captain America. This is Sam Wilson Captain America, by the way. So give it that. I want to see the Gambit outfit. I want to see the Cyclops outfit. I'm pretty sure the Fantastic Four probably are going to see minor adjustments to their suits. Thor's kind of always had the same suit over time. So we'll see that. But obviously the biggest question that no one knows what it looks like will be Doctor Doom until we see him in person. So, I will say, for those who may or may not know, I get these a lot, Mike. You see them a lot. Those fake Tony or Robert Downey Jr. As Doctor Doom aged up on set.
Oh,
photos.
yeah. It's the easiest prompt ever to put into an AI image generator.
Yeah. So don't believe any of those. If we have any officially, we will talk about them on the show. So get your facts here. Moving into Ironheart coming out very, very soon. They've gone ahead and given us the release episode names and release schedule. It's just 2 weeks. It's just 1 week. I guess 2 weeks. June 24th this week we get the first 3 episodes, and then July 1st we get the next 3. Fairly straightforward. A lot of talk has come out of this because it's got some Ironheart suit designs. I think that's the one from the movie Wakanda Forever there, drawn some mystical, the Wakanda beads, some mystical symbols, all this other fun stuff. But everyone is looking at episode 5. Mike, do you know why they're looking at episode 5?
Oh man, it's that M.
It's the red. Everything in this is there's red letters for the dates. Everything else is in black. However, they have highlighted the M in Karma's a glitch to be a red M. And what does a red M stand for in conspiracy
boy. Are we actually talking about Mephisto?
Mephisto. Now, believe it or not, we've actually had reports over the past several years that this has been done and in production, that Mephisto will be there, and it's possibly played by actor Sacha Baron Cohen. We've seen no truth to this. This could just be a ploy to get people talking on the internet. I don't know. I have no way to tell until we watch this. But, I was not a fan of Andor doing 3 episode releases. I'm more of a fan of Ironheart doing 3 episode releases because it's just 2 weeks for a show that we're half Ironhearted about. I'll show myself out. But well, I'm okay with watching 6 episodes in 2 weeks really fast for this.
Yeah, I'm curious what the strategy is behind this, right? Because streaming services are constantly experimenting with these release strategies, which is so exhausting to me, of just not having any predictability of kind of like what you're going into. Like I thought Ironheart, initially, like any other TV show out there, I'm going to be there like once or twice a week or whatever. Now I have to I need to set aside time. I need to make moves in my schedule to get this done. Which I mean, I wasn't able to do that for Andor. I had to wait. It took me a while to finish and wrap that up. So I don't know if this Mephisto reveal is gonna get spoiled for me ultimately, but I don't know. We saw kind of like, are we if we were describing this as like a dump, right? Of just like just get this out there. I feel like they did something similar with
Echo did the one.
Echo.
They did it all on one day with Echo though.
Yeah, and was Agatha all along week? That
Yeah.
was weekly, wasn't it? But it was only like 5 episodes, right?
Yeah, they usually do two. No, Agatha was a full 6 or 8. It was a longer one. Echo was only 5. This is 6. What we normally see is a 2 or 3 episode launch followed by weekly. This is going pretty quick. I think they might be trying to get this out because I think Thunderbolts is coming to streaming in July, so they might be trying to get this done and get Thunderbolts on there / the new Avengers. But obviously, we don't know. They can do anything on streaming they want, like as Mike said, and they don't have to explain it. They're just doing it to test it. At the end of the day, for me, like I said, this is low stakes for us. I will watch it. I will, do my little Marvel homework here. But this is the last show of the make more content right now kind of demand for streaming. We've talked about the movies are done. Thunderbolts was the first one of that. This is the last one of the TV shows. The next one is Wonder Man, which was announced after the fact. Seems more like a passion project, and then followed up by Vision after that as well. So, I don't want to watch 3 episodes. It's going to take me a week to watch it, but I will watch these all when they come out. But speaking of Vision, Mike, our last topic here for the day is the Vision series, and Marvel is currently working on multiple versions of the show's ending, and they're not filming this yet, as an asterisk, so they're not filmed it and editing the ending. They're, I think was it focus group testing different endings to see which one will work for the script. Which
Interesting.
Well, yeah, that is to me. I'm like, that feels smart rather than just assuming the ending is what it is at this point, because the two ones that are rumored to be testing are one where Billy and Agatha feature in one version, probably meeting his brother. That we saw in the Agatha All Along show, or the other one as rumored is Wanda Maximoff returning in that. Maybe it's a robot version. Maybe he builds himself Wanda, or whatever. I don't know how this plays out in terms of, we talked about this trying to come out before Doomsday. So I don't know what either of these fully are, but it sounds interesting what they're doing, right? What do you think?
Oh yeah, because if this is kind of supposed to be the ending of this like trilogy, in a way of how do we heal this family? Like, how do we bring it all together? Are we writing Paul Bettany out of the MCU? Which it would be so easy to keep him around, right?
He was in that
like,
concept
he's
art.
like alive, but technically not living,
Yeah.
So he could just perpetually exist,
He was also Star-Lord's roommate in that concept art for Secret Wars.
Oh yeah, that's true. So it does make me wonder if there's gonna be like a shot in this where everyone's gonna kind of come back together. Wanda's gonna show up, the kids are gonna show up, everyone's gonna be like reunited. Yeah, it's interesting if they're like kind of like beta testing these different endings. It makes me think, oh, they're trying to maybe find a satisfying ending, because I don't think you beta test something that's kind of like supposed to pivot into something else. You kind of already know what that ending needs to be if it's plugging into something else.
The Wanda one sounds like it is like, maybe how do we bring back Elizabeth Olsen for not necessarily Doomsday but like Secret Wars? How do we bring her back? Obviously Billy has magical powers. They could use him. They, Vision could build a robot version of her if he really wanted to. I don't know, but like I feel like that could be the goal with the Wanda one, is to how do we bring her back, and is it worth bringing her back, or are people like, oh, that feels cheap? At the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like Vision having the knowledge of maybe how to attempt it, since he's kind of this all-knowing being in a way, and if he meets his son who has very comparable magic powers, maybe we see them going back to that mountain temple or something. You know, a family road trip to go resurrect your mother. I don't know. But really, this is kind of like the first like Marvel family in the MCU that they've kind of constructed. You know, it's never really had its time to shine outside of tragedy. You know, well, the Fantastic Four is about to kind of like take up that mantle of like the superhero family.
But they come in as a family, right? This is one that's been built over time and created, if you will. So I think that there's, you know, yes, Fantastic Four will be the first family, but this is like an earned family, if you will, which I think is a little different. Nothing against either one. So, but the most interesting part of all this is the rumor I saw today is that Ultron, who will be in Vision, is rumored to be considered for future MCU projects after this, and which technically I guess is what the grandpa or father to Vision, if you will, a little bit like half father.
Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. I mean, we all loved James Spader in the role. I mean, his voice just resonates behind that design just so amazingly. But the Age of Ultron to me is not a successful movie, unfortunately. So Ultron coming back, I mean, it makes sense. It's kind of, he's also in a way kind of an unkillable character. You know, you just, if there's like a bit or a byte or like a binary sequence out there in the world, you know, you can write him back into existence very easily.
So the only reason I bring this up, we talked about the theory of Marvel going to space, and we've heard of Annihilation and Nova takeover. Like, we've talked about that several times over the years. The follow-up to Annihilation in the comic books was Annihilation Conquest, which is Ultron had sent his conscious or a copy of him into outer space. So imagine we get Ultron, but he's been in outer space the whole time building a robot army rather than actually on Earth doing it. Because we've assumed he's just on Earth the whole time. But what if he got on a satellite or a ship and kind of got away at the end of that? You know, we did see at the end of Age of Ultron, Hulk was in a spaceship going to another planet, right? That we caught up in Thor Ragnarok. So I think it would be fun to have, if Ultron did return, he would be out in space somewhere, doing his Ultron thing, not on Earth, and that's the reveal that he's just been out there.
Could be possible.
So, and Annihilation Conquest is a fantastic comic book. The most famous picture of Ultron I think you'll ever see, Mike, that I see everywhere, is literally from Annihilation Conquest. I'm going to send it to you in our chat because I love this image a lot, because it shows, you know, like it's a very, very menacing Ultron kind of artwork. You would see he's sitting on a throne, glowing orange.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's badass.
So that's from Annihilation Conquest, which is fantastic. It's just a great version of him. So I'd love to see that come to fruition. If not, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. So, but that's the rumors for this week. Mike, that's the show as well. If people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at?
Yeah, they can find my webcomics at liferewardsrisk.com and pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, where are you?
On Instagram, Valdan87, VALDAN, or video game consoles of the same name. If people want to know more about the show, really come see. We'll have a couple links in here, but see all these show notes. Our upcoming, the release date calendar, I have to go update. Where can they find all them goodies at? Yes,
go look at Chris's hard work on the upcoming release calendar. No pop-ups, no ads, just a simple text-based list to let you know what's coming out and when over at superheroslate.com. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love listening to podcasts. You can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Let us know what you're watching, what you're playing, what you're reading. And we love our super fans. If you want to be a super fan of this show, it's so easy to do. All you have to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.